Hey everybody, this is Jonathan Schrantz, and I'm actually really excited to share with you a game that I just played. This is my first time playing this amazing aggressive gambit that I'm sure none of you have ever heard of. It's the Nakhmanson Gambit. So this is a really aggressive weapon, and I want to give you a little bit of the history. I was actually just last night preparing this just a little bit, taking a glance with a computer, and seeing if this was a playable way of continuing, and it would actually solve a lot of my repertoire choices. So let's go ahead and have a look at what we're talking about here. So after move e4, e5, bishop to c4, this is my preferred move order, but you can get this if you have the Italian in your repertoire, if you have the Scotch Gambit in your repertoire. This is going to be a very good fit with what you're doing if you want to take a look at this crazy gambit. And the way I came about this is when I play bishop to c4 and I play the bishop's opening, I'm trying to play the unbeatable Urasov gambit. So what I'm hoping for is after knight to f6, d4, they're going to take, I'm going to play knight f3, and we're hoping black takes here and accepts this gambit, and I get to play an Urasov. However, one of the problems with the Urasov gambit, if there's any complaint I ever hear about it, it's that people won't accept it. So the biggest problem is you're not going to get too many people to take that e-pawn. And what they're really going to do in real life is they're going to play knight to c6. And this will transpose to what we are trying to do today. In my game, after bishop to c4, knight to c6 was played right away, and after knight f3, brought the knight out to f6. So we've transposed to an Italian game where you would expect people to decide between the moves d3 and the aggressive knight to g5. But there is actually a third move here, and that's the one that I actually like playing, and that's the move d4. So just challenging that center and asking black to solve a lot of problems right there in the middle of the board right away. So obviously they are going to take, and you can get this now by a lot of transpositions. Again, if you play the Italian, if you play the Scotch Gambit, you're going to get this position on the board. So there's a lot of different ways of reaching this position. And I've had a little bit of personal struggle here. This has been sort of the part where I get stuck. In this line, the main continuation is to play e5, and I'm just going to run through a sample continuation. This is just the main line, so you guys can get an idea of what is happening here. And there's definitely nothing wrong with this, but in my experience, everybody seems to know the theory here, and there's a couple of different sidelines. You can do a couple things along the way, but you're probably going to get a position like this, where eventually both sides will get castled here. Black has the two bishops and a slightly worse pawn structure. White has some ideas of attacking on the king side. This is fine. There's definitely nothing wrong with this. However, when I play e4, I'm trying to get a swashbuckling opening. I'm trying to sack pieces. I'm trying to gambit. I'm trying to have a little bit more fun than this. And while this is fine in my personal experience, I just haven't done too well with it. So I am personally looking for something a little bit different. So we return here, and after d4, again, after they take another alternative, we're going to come back to castles, which is what I played in the game. There's knight to g5. The problem with knight to g5 is both of these moves seem pretty good for black. So one of the possible remedies to my own personal repertoire issue here would be this move, but it appears that d5 and knight to e5 are both really good for black, and I don't think the moves are actually that hard. I've had a look through, I've gone through them. You're welcome to play around with this. This is another interesting gambit if you want to go this direction, but it's just not for me. I think it's too easy for black to find the right ways of getting a good position in that line. And that's why it's led me back to, after d4, taking on d4, castling. So I think this is the best bet, the best way to go. And the main continuation is knight takes e4. And this is our starting position here. I will just mention everybody, I mean, look at this. Everybody will play rook to e1, but not me. And I'm going to show you why in just a second. What I played in this game is hopefully going to surprise you. But the main line is d5, and you get to do this very clever trick where you take with the bishop on d5, play knight to c3, and let black figure out slowly that everything's pinned, so they have to move their queen away. They can't take your knight or anything. And you get this back, and here's kind of the main line. And again, this just seems fine for black. A position like this, which obviously this isn't the only way of continuing, but something like this does strike me as perfectly acceptable for black. So this isn't the permanent solution to my problem. So let's real quick start at the very top and watch this game to completion, and we'll jump back into the theory. So what is the Nakhmanson Gambit? Well, in this position, knight to c3, if you can believe it. I'm giving up a whole knight. And as you can tell, looking at this database, not a lot of people have ever gone for this. So I think this could be a very deadly weapon. What is this? Knight to c3. We'll come back and look at some theory here. But in the game, my opponent obviously took, and the main idea is bishop takes f7. So this is everything I'm looking for in a gambit. We're sacking a couple pieces, and we're going to get a fun attack. And I think in practice, here's my game. I am playing a 2457 rated player, so a very, very strong player. And if it works on this level, I'm pretty sure it's going to work anywhere. And I think you're going to catch a lot of people sleeping because we're down to 2 games of the database. Nobody's done this. Nobody knows about it. And it seems okay. Maybe it's a little shaky. We'll jump into the theory later. But just watch how easy it is to play this position. Queen to d5. And I looked at the move king to e8 last night. There's no problems for white there. I think there is a move that could theoretically, for a supercomputer, be a problem. We'll take a look and see if you think anybody would play the very, very brave move that Stockfish wants. But then there's also the game, which is king to e7. So, yeah, this move took me by surprise. I didn't see that one. And, yeah, the king is stuck in the middle. So I actually probably could have won super immediately. Instead, in the game, I played rook to e1 because that is the main move after the king goes back to e8. So I just played rook to e1. Even stronger would have been taking with the queen. So if I take with my queen here, then black is just insta-toast. After here, the point is knight g5. You can see this is just simply not going to work out for the black king. You already have to give up the queen. I mean, running around this is going to be a main one. And, you know, running around is not going to help you very much. Something like this, queen to f4. You can see how this is going to lead to a very fast checkmate. And this also, I like it. I'm going to show you just because it's funny. g4, the most accurate move, threatening a mate here. And then after some moves, eventually this discovered check and a quick mate to follow up here. So it's nice and pretty, so I'll put it on the board. Hopefully you guys can get that one over the board. Something like that would be fantastic. Instead, during the game, and we can keep the engine running here, says this is fine. You can even see it says king to e8 is the best move. We'll come back. I don't think you can trust the Lichess engines on this particular depth. I had to run it on a much stronger computer, which I'm running some of it over here right now. After the king goes back, takes, and the point is he's in a lot of trouble. It's so easy to play white. You bring this bishop out to g5, you bring the other rook into e1, and you're just going to attack the king. In this game, he tried king to f8. I think that's really all you can do. After rook to e1, he took my pawn. Here, I toyed a little bit. I couldn't quite hit upon the main idea, but the winning move here is after some capture, rook to f4, and he's toast. The only way out of here, if you go here, it's going to be mate in 1, and if you have to give up your knight, I'm going to take your knight, and then you're going to get mated really fast after that. So a very, very nice, clean, easy win, 16 moves. This went really, really well for me. So I would encourage you guys to have a look at this. So let's jump back one more time really quick here and run through the theory. And again, you can get here a bunch of different ways. So if you're an Italian player, you can get here via this move order. And after here, now you can castle. And yeah, if they take, you can play knight to c3. So if you're a Scotch player, you can also go like this and achieve the position this way by playing a Scotch Gambit. Any way you want to get there after they take this pawn. Today, I am looking at this move, knight to c3. And again, I'll put this computer on, even though it's at relatively low depth. You might want to, something like this where lots of pieces are getting sacked, you might want to have a deeper look with a very strong engine. But again, the point is, after the capture, we are taking on f7, and the computer will go up and down. Can't decide, but having run this on a little bit deeper of an engine, the main problem appears to be king to f6. So we'll start with the real heavy line here. King to f6, this is what the much stronger engine was telling me is the way to go. And here I think taking with the queen is actually a big mistake. You want to play rook to e1. If you take here, I think black actually begins to start to cover a little bit some of the weaknesses. So you do want to start with rook to e1. And yeah, the computer line, which evaluation is going to jump up and down. Go something like this, and then all these moves are only moves. If black keeps finding all of the only moves, you should be fine. You can take, I think, bishop to g5 was another line, and whether they play d6 or d5, you're going to get something similar. If d6, I think the computer wants you to, like, check, force them to play d5, and after getting to g8, it says here, which I don't think is actually the best practical try, because, okay, possibly if your opponent plays all these crazy moves like a supercomputer, you can get some position like this. And again, I don't think you should probably trade the queens in a practical game. And then you take this way for some reason. You will get some position where, after h5, obviously, they're up a pawn and they got two bishops. So maybe there is some problems here. White should probably do a little bit better. But that's, when I ran this last night, that's what the big boy computer over here was telling me was white's best try. I think, in real life, if your opponent puts their king on f6, they're in a lot of trouble. I don't know how many people would prep this as black knowing that they could get this position. Like, if you told me you could have this position as black, your opponent's going to play it. Look, you can be like minus 0.04 right now. All you got to do is put that king on f6. I wouldn't do it. Even if, like, I can find a lot of endgames, black is going to have to memorize, like, so much stuff, and realistically, over the board, none of this is ever going to happen. Something different is going to happen. And with that king on f6, bad stuff is going to happen to that king. That's a guarantee in real life. So heading back, I think the most popular way after taking this knight, queen to d5, most people, I would suspect, are going to go back to e8. Where, again, I feel like it's actually here much even worse to take, because this just simply allows black to start defending, which can only help black. You really should start with the move rook to e1. And the big idea is we're going to get one piece back. Yes, we're going to be down a piece. Black cannot castle, and we have the simple plan of, after we capture this rook, bringing the bishop to g5, putting pressure on whatever piece is blocking on e7, and bringing another rook in. Super fast, easy attack. And just to give you some ideas, let's analyze this together just a little bit here. I would expect most people to play bishop to e7. And after the capture, there is one funny line. Computer says d6 is the way to go. I will point out, I'll point out if we can do it this other way too. In this position, they really should play king to f8. I will point out one really funny line, and that is here. If they go here, white has a very funny draw, if you want it, by taking on c6 and now smashing right here, forcing this endgame where, yeah, you can start picking up stuff. Just having a little bit of fun here. But yeah, we should probably repeat in some way because we are down quite a lot of material. But I like that line because we sacked our queen to get that perpetual. The alternative is king f8, which I think gives white like this much advantage according to the big boy computer. But as you can kind of tell, this is going to be fantastically easy to play with the white pieces. We got a rook swinging over here. So again, this is black. They have to see that rook f4 is a big threat. If they ignore our threat, rook f4 is going to win the game. Because after here, we have a really nice sacrifice. Rook takes f6, where they're going to have to give up their queen or get checkmated. So, yeah, real dangers. Our rooks come in. The rook goes over to f4, attacks the king. Could be a lot of danger. There's not a whole lot in the database to go by, so I'm not just going to sit here and rattle off move after move. I've had a look, and I've given this a little bit of practice now, so let me know. If you guys play a Nakhmanson Gambit, let me know. Come follow me on Twitch so you guys can show me. I'll analyze your game on the stream. We'll have a lot of fun with it. Hopefully this encourages you a little bit to take a look at this crazy, crazy line. Nobody's out there playing it right now, so you can kind of be the first. See if you can get some easy, quick wins with the Nakhmanson Gambit. And yeah, come find me. Come let me know. Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Hit a big like here if you guys do like this Gambit, if you think it's a good idea. And let me know in the comments below. Would you play this? Would you want to defend this as black? Let me know in the comments below.